We are live.
Let's go.
Okay, so we're all about to get started. We're waiting for Bobir Akilkhanov to join. There's four of us right now here. It's Shahodat, our communication expert. It's Hassan.
Nobody's here yet, so you can just chill.
No, but still, it's going to be recorded. We're going to record it, so
fine.
Better to document it properly. And I'm going to introduce you guys over again as well.
Here yet, so you can just chill. Did you figure out how to record it?
What is the sign? Who's making the sign?
That's a good point. Let's ask Shahla if we can't figure it out.
Okay, 4 people are watching right now.
Yeah, but Sardar, did we figure out a way to record it?
Well, it's going to be recorded on YouTube. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, it's going to be recorded in Facebook also, I think.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I will go live on Instagram as well.
Yes, please point the camera, and we're just waiting for our speaker right now. Let me check in. Wonder who the 3 people are watching. Probably us.
Why is our Instagram not letting me go live on the Uzbek Diaspora? Can you guys check if it lets you? Did we turn off the function?
Let me see.
That's weird.
I can try again. Live. There we go.
It does let you? Okay. Oh,
No.
it wasn't. It worked now. I don't know what happened.
Oh, it's working? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I started as well. Let me end mine.
No, yeah, end it because you can't hold it the whole time. You're going to be interviewing. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're waiting for the speaker.
Thank you. Azim Ruzi Moradov, Abdul Jalil Olemjanov, Abdullah Muradov. Okay, Bobir is here.
Hey guys, what's up?
Bobir, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum. How are you all?
Good. Thank you for joining. And let me just go ahead and introduce you to our executive board.
All right, one second. Okay, 1 second, guys. 1 second.
Guys, you can watch it live on Facebook and YouTube as well.
I'm almost a blogger. That's why I have all this GoPro and camera and all this stuff.
Professional equipment.
Yeah, professional equipment.
Nice.
Ready?
Great. Yeah. So let me go ahead and introduce you to our board. So first is Shahodat Khanbabayeva, who is our communication expert.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Bobir. Good to have you here.
Yeah. And then Begzot Kabilov, who is our public relationship expert.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. Nice to meet you. Thank you to be here.
Yep. And then Hassan Ramjanov, who is our finance expert, is also here.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, and Shahlozi Adulayeva, who's our marketing expert, wasn't able to join right now, but she is with us spiritually. Cool. So, yeah, and the format is going to be, I am going to moderate this event and do the Q&A part, and guys are just going to be on the background helping me out. So I'm just going to remove them from stage right now, and it's going to be 2 of us for the interview.
Okay, nice.
Okay, and Shahodat, yeah, is just going to be on the background.
You all guys, your colleagues are in US, right?
Everybody except Begzot, who's in Berlin.
Oh, is he? Oh, nice.
Yeah. And we have an advisory board throughout different countries as well. Actually, Abdul, who interviewed you recently, who's in Singapore, also joined our advisory board. So that's more broader board.
That's very good.
Yeah. Without further ado, let's get started. So as I mentioned before, the format is going to be stressing about your background as an immigrant in 4 different countries that you lived in. And we're going to touch on, I think, the UK that you lived in briefly as well. So, but before we dive into that, for maybe 1% of people perhaps who don't know you yet, could you just introduce yourself briefly?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Bobir Akilkhanov, and I was born in Uzbekistan. I lived there until 17, until I graduated my high school. And basically, I am a tech entrepreneur. I lived in different countries. I did different projects, all related in IT. I had failures, successes. So basically, I'm a tech entrepreneur, and I've been in tech industry for 20 years.
Great, great. And you started your career 20 years ago.
I actually started. I say that I started 20 years ago, but I actually started back in Uzbekistan, reselling web hosting packages in Uzbekistan. It was, I think, 98, 99, something like that.
Awesome, awesome. So
that was a back when I was in the school time. So I started working in technology industry before 2000.
Nice. Yeah. And briefly about why you chose IT, so people know.
The reason why I chose IT is the reason why I chose IT is because my father was, at that time, he was kind of a geek guy. He was interested in technologies. I mean, back then it was only computers. And I always had access since I was very young. Our first computer at home back in probably 92, 93 was Apple Macintosh. Wow. So I always had access to the computers, and that was something that I was interested in. But the turning point was when I got access to the internet, and it was sometime between 98, 99, and I got access. I saw what it was. And it was fascinating. And then my parents told me, my father said, hey, you're interested in technology. You have to go and study information technology. So that was basically it. He told me that I need to go to technology industry, and I went there.
Makes sense. Okay. Interesting. So 1 second. How about that on the background?
No problem.
1 second.
No problem.
Okay, I think with Bobir Akilkhanov, Shahodat.
Yeah, I think he left because of poor connection, so you would have to add him back.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. We're still
my connection problem.
Yep, just invite him back.
Okay.
Just give us a few minutes, everyone, and we will get this resolved. All right. I see Bobir Akilkhanov. Let me add him.
Hello? Yeah, I'm here. I don't know if I had a problem with the internet or Sardor.
Yeah, I think it's Sardar. So we'll give him a second.
Okay, I'm back as well. Sorry about that.
Okay, so you had the problem with the internet, not me, right?
I did, and then it was something on your side as well. So
maybe. All right, cool.
Yeah. But all right, so we're back talking about technology, having technology issues a little bit. But anyways, so yeah, you were saying about your background. So you chose IT because your father encouraged you to go in there.
Exactly. Yeah, my father was the guy who encouraged me to go to IT because I was interested in technology. I had access to internet before 2000, at the time when internet was almost non-existent to most of the population of Uzbekistan, and not only Uzbekistan. I think the population of CIS and the world. Okay, it was at the very early ages. And he encouraged me. He said, "Look, people are making good money. Technology is the future, and you are interested, and you got to go there." So I listened to my father, and I think it was the best decision.
Awesome. Interesting. Great. So now that we have a little background on you for the minority of people who might not know you before, could you briefly tell, so you lived in 4 countries. What are those 4 countries again?
I lived in, I was born in Uzbekistan. I lived in Australia for 10 years. Then I also went to Russia, and I spent a lot of time. I say I lived in UK, but most of the time I spent time a lot in UK. So it was like every second week or every week I used to fly to UK.
Interesting. And the 4th one would be the US, obviously, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. So we're gonna go one by one with each country and your experience in each country, and have some questions about each one, about Uzbek diaspora and etc. So first one is Australia. Then at the age of 16, you leave Uzbekistan to go study there. So how was your experience in Australia, and why did you choose that country first of all?
Well, initially I was planning to fly to US. I think it was Tennessee or Nashville, one of them. I don't remember. But then what happened is that one day when I was passing the notice board in my school, I saw an advertisement saying, "Go and we can send you to Australia, one of the best countries." And I took the leaflet and brought it to my father, and I said, "Here's Australia. Well, let's talk." And the name and the guy's name was Michael, so I thought he was Australian. His real name was Mikhail, but he changed it to Michael. And my father called him, and this guy, he recently migrated to Australia. He was like 60, 65, returned to Uzbekistan to recruit people to Australia. And then we went to his house. He put the videotape, and he showed me, he played the video of Sydney Harbour. And it's one of the magnificent views of Sydney, the best views. And when I saw it, I said, "Oh my God, this is beautiful!" Like it literally blew my mind, because I was living in Uzbekistan, very gray city. Recently the Soviet Union collapsed. Like it was only 10 years ago. So to me, it was like something out of this world. And then he saw that I was interested, and he pushed my father. He said, "Why do you want to send your kid to US? Like, it's not safe. It's not good, blah, blah, blah." And send him to Australia. So this is how I ended up. And he also told me, "Look, you're going to see Sydney Olympic Games in 2000. Sydney Olympic Games 2000. Yeah, so we decided.
We sold you.
He sold me. He played on my emotions. He pitched very well, and by the way, one of the reasons also, there was a conversion difference, the rates exchange difference. So Australian dollar was for $1 US, you could get almost 1.6 Australian dollars. So it was cheaper. And so my father said, "Yeah, you know what? Let me send you to Australia."
Interesting. That's
but
how you.
Before that, I've never considered. I didn't even know Australia was an English-speaking country, to be honest.
Interesting. So looking back now, do you regret going to Australia? Do you wish you went to the US back then? What do you think?
When I ended up in Australia, I kind of regretted a little bit, because I wanted to be at the center of the world, and obviously U.S. was that place. But looking back now, I think I probably did a good decision because it gave me experience. I know Southeast Asia very well because of Australia. I know Australian culture. Australia gave me, I have a lot of friends there, very good memories. And overall, it was a very safe country to be in. It was very beautiful. I think if I didn't live in Australia, I wouldn't be able to have this mindset of knowing that there are other English countries which are also really good countries.
Oh yeah, because in the US there's a little bit of propaganda that this country is the only country where you can make it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of infrastructure, Australia is far better than any US cities. Far.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. Like, look at the trains. They have one of the best trains in the world with the, double-decker trains, with the Wi-Fi, with the air conditioning, very beautiful stations. A lot of people don't know about it, but it's one of the happiest countries in the world. One of the happiest, yeah. I think one of the 5 most happiest and most livable, countries in the world. When I moved out from Australia and I flew to UK, I remember it clearly because I had that thick Australian accent back then, which I lost now. I flew to UK and I was talking to one of the British girls, and she said, "Oh, you're from Australia?" I said, "Yeah, I'm from Australia. What are you doing here?" I said, "I just moved out from Australia. I'm looking for new adventures." And she said, "You moved out from Australia? Why would you do that? It's one of the best places. This is where we want to live."
Wow.
And I realized that, and it happened to me in US as well. I was in Miami in 2013 or 14, and still I had this Australian accent. I flew there, and one of the girls said, "You have this strange accent. Where is it from?" And back then I used to say I'm from Australia. And then I said, Australia, and she goes like, "Oh, it's my dream. I wish I would be able to live there." I then realized how good is this country.
Interesting.
Australia is a really good country. I mean, I recommend everyone to visit Australia. If it's the scenery is beautiful, people are extremely friendly. There's no pollution. Streets are clean. Overall, it's just very happy country to be in. It's beautiful.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm sure it's very underrated as well. It's not the most popular destination, especially I would say for the Uzbek diaspora. And for the people who are watching us from different countries, Uzbek people living in different countries, I'm sure there's not so many of them living in Australia or this type of exotic countries. But could you describe for that reason, how is Uzbek diaspora in Australia? Like, is there...
There was no diaspora. There's no diaspora, Uzbek diaspora. I was one of the first ones to actually enter Australia. And when I was entering Australia, they didn't have Uzbekistan in their list. They had I think it was Soviet Union or something like that. So we were not even considered to be a separate country. So I think if I'm not mistaken, they updated it in 2002 or 2003, something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, there were people before me, but they all left, 4 or 5. I was one of the first one to be actually living there. And after myself, then people start coming in. But the most we had probably like 30-40 people. And we were all students back then. And then, but there is a diaspora of Uyghur people, Chinese Uyghur people, around 2000, and they live in a different city, not in Sydney where I used to live. Also, there's a Jewish people from Uzbekistan. So there is not many, not like in US.
Probably like some small Uzbekistani diaspora.
Uzbekistani diaspora, like 50, 60 people, probably at most. And then in 2005, when there was some issue, that we had some issues in Uzbekistan, in Andijan, people start coming in as refugees. I think probably like a couple hundred people, and that's it. So there's not many people. There was never Uzbek restaurant there. There was Uyghur restaurant where we used to go, and Russian restaurants where we used to go. So yeah.
Interesting. So briefly then, how was your experience? Was it like shocking for you, especially because you were very young, because you didn't find anything?
Yeah, I was very young. I used to live with my homestay mother. So because I was under 18, I was not able to live by myself. And obviously, coming from Uzbekistan, from your own family, and then ending up in someone's family. But by the way, she's a very good person. I respect her a lot. I actually, talk to her still. Paula Kennedy. She took care of me very well. But one thing was, obviously, it was a shocking. I left Uzbekistan from my family and ended up in someone else's family. And the first thing was, I remember it clearly, when she knocked in the door and she said, "Hey, Bobir." I replied in Uzbek. I said, "Hozir, hozir." I remember that. Like one minute, okay? And then she said, "What?" I said, and I realized that I'm not in Uzbekistan. I'm in someone's house. So I had to adjust. And because I was young and because there were no Uzbek people, I adjusted very well. I actually became very good friend of her sons. I became, kind of, I became, as a nephew to her, something like that.
Wow.
And overall, the experience was, I started accelerating within the Australian society because I had no access to my own community. And I know all of the Australian jokes, I know the culture, I know the mentality, I know how they talk, I know what they love to eat, and etc. Because I lived with them.
And you didn't have access to your own comfort zone of people from Uzbekistan.
No,
and I think if you came to the US, you could have ended up just in the Uzbek community and not even feel like you're really
probably. So yeah, when I listen to Australians, and I know how they think, I know what they're thinking about. It's good. It's a good thing. It was an advantage. It was definitely an advantage, not a disadvantage that I didn't have access. But you know what? My friends, one of my best friends from Uzbekistan, he flew to Australia because I went to Australia, and he came to Australia after 3 or 4 months after myself. And it was a very, very interesting story because when I told him my parents are going to send me to Australia, we didn't know, and look, this was before YouTube, before you had access. And, if you didn't know geography very well, you wouldn't know. So he was like, "Australia?" And I said, "Yeah, Australia." He said, "Is this where the pyramids grow?" Like, 2 things. He said, like, pyramids growing? He compared it with Egypt. And I said, "Dude, I think pyramids don't grow."
First of all,
as far as I know. And I think the pyramids are in Egypt and Australia. And he was like, "Hey, do they speak in English?" I said, "They apparently do. I didn't know that as well." So he flew. He came to Australia. And then after a couple of months, another guy flew, and we became very good friends. 3 of us, very, very good friends. All 3 of us were living in a homestay, so like with the families. But we used to hang around, in the streets. But then, like, when time comes, we had to go back before like 7 or 8 o'clock. Like, "Hey, I gotta go home. My parents are waiting for me."
Felt like back home still, huh? So Uzbek people still, in a way. You did stick to the little Uzbek community.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. But we were not living together. We were living in our own with the other families. So yeah, it was fun.
Interesting. So we can wrap up the Australian part then. I think this was very interesting. So many things I didn't know, even talking every day. And then your next destination was Russia, right?
Yeah.
So when did you move to Russia? Why did you move?
I moved. To me, I always felt in Australia that technology was very way behind of every single industry that I knew. Like when you opened Australian, and this was like 2005, 6, 7, when you were opening Forbes magazine, Australian Forbes magazine, the richest people, top 20, 30, 50, or whatever, they were all industrial tycoons. They were all real estate tycoons. There was not a single person from technology industry in a Forbes list, and we had our own magazine. Like it wasn't a Forbes, it was BRW, Australian BRW. It's similar to Forbes. So it was demotivating me constantly because I was seeing what was happening in US, and I was feeling like I'm missing out. I'm missing out. I'm not at the center of the world, but I didn't know how to move to US. That was an issue. I got my residency in Australia, but US was like, oh, how am I gonna do it? How am I gonna do it? So the logical choice to me was Russia, because Russia was also a growing country. A lot of opportunities, and I felt like I was ahead of Russia for at least 2 to 3 years, because back then, you could bring whatever project you wanted to Russia, and it would explode, literally. And one time, one of the projects that I wanted to invest didn't work out. It was a social networking website, VK. So I went to Russia in 2006, and I saw what it was, and I saw the opportunity. So when I decided, okay, that's it. I have to leave Australia because I want to grow. I want to be at the center of the world. I decided, okay, so probably Russia would be the best choice. I went to Uzbekistan, and while I was in Uzbekistan, just stopover, kind of a stopover. TechCrunch announced that they will be doing a Russian TechCrunch, Moscow TechCrunch, in 2010. So, and it was like, okay,
for the first time.
First time in 2000, first event. And then I said, okay, I have to go there. I need to be there. Oh, hold on a sec. I need to turn off my video and turn it off again. Okay. Because I'm recording as well.
Okay. So. Oh, you're streaming on YouTube, on Instagram?
No, I'm actually not streaming. To be honest, I forgot about it. I should have. So I'm just recording it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So TechCrunch, I decided, okay, I need to go to TechCrunch. I bought a ticket. I flew to Moscow, and in Moscow, in TechCrunch, I saw, people, Russian community, tech community. It was fascinating because it was just becoming popular, and I wasn't late into the game. They didn't have Airbnb. The Groupon was just growing. A lot of new things was happening. A lot of expats, a lot of young people like myself came from all over the world, from UK, from America, and all of a sudden I saw like, wow, we didn't have that in Australia. Like there was nothing like that. And accidentally, I met one of the guys who was literally staring at me, and I was staring at him because I knew he was Uzbek, and he knew that I was Uzbek. And at that time, I used to think that I was the only Uzbek guy in technology industry. Only Uzbek guy. I knew that there was, programmers because they were working for me, but I'm not a nerd. So he was like, Uzbek? And I said, yeah, what are you doing here, man? He was like, I'm, starting my business. I said, wow, I lived in Australia and blah, blah. I told him my story. We decided that we will meet, and he invited me to his office. And apparently these guys recently flew from Uzbekistan and started Groupon Clone, basically raised capital They just started like recently.
Wow.
And I said, look, I have this idea, beautiful idea. I want to do the same thing, but with the vacations. I want to sell them. And he said, wow, that's cool. Let's do it. And I started the business, and then it picked up very quickly. The name of the project was Kupi Coupon. And very shortly, we just merged, like literally merged, because the first advertisement we did, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I had 5,000 Facebook likes into our group right away. And then we had sales right away, like right away. We launched the project. The next day we had sales. And it was like every couple of minutes, people buying. It was such a fascinating time because it was the time of the growth. And we basically merged. I felt a little bit, not good with when we merged, because they were friends from Uzbekistan, and I was the outsider. I became a partner. I became a co-founder, but I was the guy who you would say an outsider, and then I didn't feel good about that. There were 4 people, and I was the 5th one. So there were too many founders, I'd say, too many partners. Well, everybody's ambitious. We're young, ambitious people. I'm like 27, 26 years old. So I said, hey guys, you know what? I'll leave. I'll leave. Here you are. I have my equity. And I raised additional capital, and I started my Airbnb-like project. So this is how I ended up in Russia.
Interesting. Wow, so many things. But you did end up again working with Uzbek people in Russia as well, right?
Yeah.
And your second project, even plov.com, that you invested in, also an Uzbek project.
Yeah.
So do you think it's easier to make connections when moving to another country with people from your own country?
When you kind of end up being, the first moves is that you look for your own food. You look for the restaurants. Then you look to some connections. And the first connections that you end up having most of the time is from your own diaspora. I'm not saying you have to stick to your diaspora like, oh, this is the only way for me to grow. No, this is not. But the first steps are via your own diaspora. Because, you might have a friend in Uzbekistan who will call you and say, hey, I have this friend in Moscow. Why don't you meet with him? And this is how you end up like slowly integrating to the Russian society. And then I ended up investing into Uzbek projects and working with some of the my partner was Uzbek, but my staff were not Uzbek people. They were all from Russia, Moscow. Mm-hmm. So yeah, most of the people who still I have the connection with are not Uzbek people in Russia. I talked to a lot of Russian people. I have a very good connections in Russia from both VC world and tech industry, government and etc.
Interesting. So your suggestion to new immigrants in any country that they're moving to would be that you should start with connecting to Uzbek diaspora because it's easier, but then you should merge into other, like the native culture, right? You should not just stick to your own thing and be in your comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. To me personally, it was easier to have a connection with the Uzbek diaspora because to Russians, I was a foreigner, I was nobody. And how do I come? Like, hey, my name is Bobir. It doesn't work like that. But when you merge to your diaspora a little bit, and then you find like-minded people, then they will introduce you to other people, and then eventually you will merge to another, people. You will be able to have a connection with other people.
Definitely, yeah. I think that's the right strategy to get into the culture.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then after Russia, you said you were briefly living in the UK.
So I spent a lot of after 2013. I spent hell of a lot of time in UK. I know a lot of stuff in UK. I have a very good friends in UK, in London, and when I say I lived there, I didn't like permanently live there, but I used to fly there every week or two. So I could fly there in the morning, return next day, or return in the evening.
Wow.
So it was like that. London to me, from 2013 to 2016 was a second home to me. I used to go there more than I used to fly to Uzbekistan.
And that's because you had clients there, right?
Yeah, I had a clients there, and then I ended up being in a group, connecting with a group of very smart people in London, and going to the parties as if I was living in a different state. Let's say I'm in New York and flying to Chicago every second week or week, like that.
So that was during Russia. So Russia.
Yeah, during Russia. So I had, and I still have a lot of friends in UK. So it became like I permanently live in Moscow, but I spent great deal of time in London.
Makes sense. And how was diaspora in London? Did you?
They're very good people. Very good, nice. They're different. They're not business people though. Okay. They're completely corporate people. Very, very cultural. They're even the clothing they wear is different. They're British. They become British people. They have this accent. They work for family offices. They work for big law firms. They work for EBRD, whatever, things like that. This was really interesting to see, but most of them were not business people. They were very corporate.
Many people, right?
Yeah, corporate.
Oh, so typical. What would the typical Uzbekistani person do in London?
They would be working in finance industry, law, international relations, family offices. The guys who I used to hang around, they were. The guys who I hang around here, they're most of them, business-related guys. There, they were corporate guys. They were lawyers, and etc.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah.
So 3 countries so far. Now let's move on to the last, most juicy part.
Yeah.
The US, your American dream. You finally come here.
Yeah.
When did you come? How did you come? Why did you come?
So initially, my kid, it was always my dream to move to US, always. For some reason, I was afraid of that. And while living in Australia, I was afraid that I would not be able to get my residency. While living in Russia, I was afraid that, I might be screwed in US because I was doing well in Russia. And, I had the connections, I had businesses, and etc. And I was making money, pounds, euros, dollars, and spending them in Russia, which was really cheap. Because when Russia's ruble devalued against all major currencies, everybody was crying and saying, "Hey, whoa, I'm so poor now," blah blah blah. And I was a richer, 50% richer now. I wasn't. Yeah. I was, my rent became 2 times lower, reduced 2 times, and my food became, so it was good. To me, it was good. So while living there, I was in my comfort zone. I was kind of afraid to move to US. But when my wife became pregnant with our second son, I told her, okay, we gotta go to US. I want to spend there, I want my kid to be born in US. So we flew to US, and that was in 2013 June, and that was the first time me entering US after 97. I came here first time into US in 97. and I saw this, it was like fascinating. New York, I had double, I had feelings, like I had the weird feeling because I was expecting it to be clean. It was very dirty. I was expecting it to be a little bit different, but still I liked it. I liked it. And then we flew from New York to Chicago, then from Chicago to Las Vegas, and from Las Vegas we had to go to Los Angeles. And when we came to Las Vegas, my wife and we said, like, we're not gonna go, like, that's it. We're tired, we're jet lagged, and we're gonna stay in Las Vegas. So we ended up in Vegas. We spent 3 great months in Vegas. My younger son was born there. I paid all of my bills. It's not a public funds. I paid every single bill for my medical expenses, and it costed it costed me $30,000. So,
wow.
When people ask me, "Oh, so you were in a public?" No. I paid it because I knew that I would be leaving the country, and the visa officer in the future would ask me, "Did you cover your expenses?" So we have all the receipts for those people who would be interested. And
Very important advice I just want to highlight here before you move on. So for people listening, if you guys want to do the same thing,
you have to
cover up your bills, right?
You have to pay. Because in the US, when I came to the US, people were saying, why are you paying? This is a medical emergency. This is considered to be medical emergency, giving a birth. You don't have to pay for that. And even the US, American people telling me, and I said, look, I don't want to do that. You guys are taxpayers. I'm the foreigner. I don't want to be a burden to your taxation system and blah, blah, blah. So, and I paid for everything. And then 3 months, I've stayed 3 months in Vegas, and that was the time when I should have stayed. But yet again, I was too afraid. I was thinking, I have my business in Russia. How am I going to integrate to this, society, blah, blah, blah. So I left. I left in 2013. I left to Uzbekistan for 6 months and then moved back to Russia for another, up until 2016. But then I used to fly over to US every half a month, 6 months. 6 months. So it became like, okay, let me fly to Miami. Let me fly to New York. Let me fly, blah, blah, blah. I used to fly all the time. And by 2015, mid-15, I knew that I will be moving to US. That is 100%. And I felt confident about myself. My friends were telling me, hey, don't move to US. You're not going to be able to make it. You're not as competitive as you are in Russia. But I said, no, we're going to move. So what we've done, we got the student visa for my wife, and I became her sponsor. We came here, and my wife was studying, and I am a business guy, and I became literally a sponsor sitting at home. And obviously what I was doing researches about the business opportunities and things like that. And then we found a very good lawyer, and she told me about this O1A visa for extraordinary individuals. I said, no, I'm not going to be able to get it. I'm not an extraordinary guy, and I never considered myself to be one of them. And then, she said, well, look, trust me, you're going to get it. And then for 3 months, I said no. Believe it or not, I was not going into that route. I was saying, no, it's not going to work. And then after 3 months, I said, well, let's give it a try. So I collected all of the documents she requested. And when I collected, I saw like, oh shit, I have so many articles in Russian. Yeah, and I'm like, wow, my speeches, my radio speeches, people writing about me and blah, 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 blah. So I had like a whole bunch of documents. I brought it to her. I applied. And she called me back, I think 7 or 8 days, and she said, you were approved. And I was pretty much shocked. I think it was surreal experience. I was like, oh my God, people are supposed to be staying here for years to get their, that kind of visa. And I'm here staying, and I'm like, oh, so I can work now, you know? It's so cool. And then she said, go ahead, you know, you have 3 years, do whatever you want, like do your business. And I did my business. We don't want to go into that because we're talking just about the life. So I was doing my business, and then one of the businesses succeeded. And then I came back in 5 months, and I said, look, here's the contract, here's agreements, here's the, you know, people want to buy it. And then she said, let's apply for now green card, because the first visa was a 3-year visa that you would get. And then the second visa would be a green card, permanent. I gave her the documents. She applied, and within 8 months, 8 or 10 days, my green card was approved. I became like, okay, so I am now going to be staying in US.
Wow.
That's I remember it clearly because it was like, oh, so I don't have to do fake marriages. I don't have to do refugee. I don't have to do all this stuff, because, you know, that I really wanted to stay here, and you know,
and it is the most beautiful legal way.
I stayed here with the most beautiful and legal way, and that's it. I was super excited. You know, I can't even express my emotions, because at that.
Oh, we lost you. Oh, Bobir, you froze. Can everybody else see?
Yes, I think he froze. Just give him a second. He'll probably reconnect.
Sure. Let me text him.
Possibly we could get started with one question that you could answer for us as well, because it's for both you and Bobir, unless he connects until I can.
Right, yeah, let's finish up with this part. We don't have to go strict just 1 hour. I think it's super interesting. People can stay for another 20, 30 minutes, right? So let's finish up with this part. And let me text him and see if there's a connection issue. But this is such an inspirational story so far, I think, especially with the advice for people. I just wanted to highlight that, guys, if you're coming here on a visa and you want to become a permanent resident, look at how Bobir did it. He was very law-abiding person. He paid all his bills, although he had a choice. Like, that was $30,000. That must be very tempting. But he covered that up because he was thinking long-term. Long-term. He wants to come here. He wants to get another visa. So next time he applies, he knew that the officers would ask him about that visa. And I know a lot of people ask about how to move to the US. And some people can make these mistakes by thinking very short-term and not be able to, you know, be approved the next time or approved for the case of immigration that they're applying for. So being an Uzbek diaspora group, just wanted to give this immigration advice. And I think Bobir is back here.
I think I had a problem with my internet connection.
Oh, no worries. Okay.
So
are you? Yeah.
Huh?
You're in Texas right now, right?
Yeah, I'm in Dallas, so
Okay.
I moved to my new apartment. So for those people who lived in US for a very long time, probably your experience was different. Well, you know, obviously those people who were born here or lived since they were a kid, you wouldn't feel that. You don't have that feeling. But I actually dreamt about US since 1997. When I came here, the first time, it was 97. My aunt was living here. My uncle was working a representative of Uzbekistan and then my uncle was one of the first reps of Uzbekistan. And then when I came here for 2 weeks, I actually begged my father and my mom to leave me in US, study in US. And they did not allow me to do that. So my dream was to return to US since 97.
Interesting. So you fulfilled this dream that you had from 97 in 2016. So there's almost 20 years of wait.
20
wow,
years.
Amazing. What an extraordinary, like, inspirational story of an immigrant, like a true immigrant who went through 4 different countries.
Yeah.
Came to the US, made it such a legal and proper way, because I mean, no judgments for anybody who else does a different way. Obviously, everybody has their own way, but this is like you literally had to go through sweat and blood to get this permanent residency, and so much respect for that, honestly. Now, could you describe a little bit of experience of how you integrated to this society this time? Again, coming back to the question we had previously.
Sure. So this time, what I've done, I basically had a few friends in US, and I ended up in New York. I had a few friends in Las Vegas. What I've done, I said on my Facebook, and I start texting people, literally like Uzbek Diaspora, Uzbek community, texting, and Russian people as well. Hey, my name is Bobir. I'm a new immigrant. I came here, and I'm in tech industry. Let's meet. And probably I sent like 200-300 messages, and or 2-3 people replied to me. Most people did not reply because it was yet another Uzbek guy who came from Uzbekistan. Probably wants money or something like that. And I understand that. There's a lot of Uzbek people here, so people are not that. And a couple of people replied. I met with them, and they said, let's meet up. Apparently the reason why they met was they wanted to pitch me their own product, which was fine. I met with them. I invited them, and I was living in Dumbo. It's a very good neighborhood in Brooklyn. It's one of the best neighborhoods in Brooklyn. So I invited this guy. I said, come over to Dumbo. He goes like, oh, you live in Dumbo? Yes, I do live in Dumbo. Come to the restaurant. So
probably the first Uzbek guy who lived in Dumbo that he knew. Probably the first guy who lived in Dumbo.
There were no Uzbek people in Dumbo living. And I ended up in Dumbo accidentally because I wanted to live in Manhattan, and then I was told that nobody's going to give me an apartment in Manhattan. So, and I went to Shipkins Bay, where all the Russians and Uzbek people live, and they said to me, I was so confident that they will lease me an apartment. They said, oh, you're a new immigrant. We're not going to give it to you. This is what happened. Seriously. And then, I was so confident that they will lease me. They were saying, oh, you just came here. You don't have SSN. You don't have the credit history. I said, I can pay you for 6 months if you want. But they were not. They said, nope.
Wow.
And then I started applying everywhere, and I got approval from 2 places. It was Weehawken in New Jersey and Dumbo. So I chose Dumbo. Anyway, long story short, I started writing people, and a couple of people met with me, and then they pitched me their product, and I said, well, look, it's good that you're pitching me your product. It's cool. I'm not going to buy it, but thanks for meeting. Tell me about the US and things like that. Asking. And then my other friend who I knew from Australia, a very good friend of mine, was a Deloitte employee, but he was super busy, always super busy, because they're like busy people. I called him and I said, bro, can you introduce me to people? I'm gonna fucking die without having some kind of connections with other people. I'm not an extrovert per se, and I'm not an introvert. I'm somewhere in the middle. Okay, I'm not the most extrovert guy. I'm just someone in the middle. And then he said to me, for sure, we have GAP. So you Uzbek people know it's basically where Uzbek people gather for non-formal meetings every month, every 2 months, every week, something like that. And he said, I want to bring you to our GAP. And then he brought me, and that's how it started. It was all of these guys were settled guys. They were all from finance industry. The only person in tech industry was myself. And it was interesting for them to talk to me because I came from a guy who's, successful guy, lived in different countries, hustling here, working for myself, and, things like that. So and then we start. I'm still part of this Gap group in New York. It's a very good, very good people. I love them a lot. They're very good people. And they started introduce me to other people. And then, I was running my own business. I did a marketing campaign. I was sitting on the phone myself, talking to clients, prospective clients, and every person who was working with me introduced me to another person. And so this is how I started like getting into the US, connecting with Americans, with people who were here.
Through work.
Through work. Yeah. I flew to Detroit to one of the partners of Little Robot. It's probably like $100 million business now. He introduced me to other people, and then Peter introduced me to another people, like a guy from Discovery Channel and things like that, former Mr. America. And this is how it worked out. And also because I had a very good, strong connections in Russia, I was introduced to Russian people. So Russian people from Moscow, so I was like within two diasporas, both Russian, very good connections because I work there, I still have my business there, and etc. And with the Uzbek diaspora, and through Russian diaspora, I was introduced to Jewish diaspora, and then the Jewish diaspora introduced me to another diaspora. Wow. So very quickly, Sardor, I became pretty well known in both Uzbek diaspora, Russian diaspora, and Jewish diaspora.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
So I would say the takeaway here is that for everybody who's listening, and I just wanted to remind everybody that this interview is solely focused on the diaspora, immigration, and Bobir Akil's journey abroad. So we're taking only questions that are going to be about that. So we're going to move on to Q&A in a second. But before that, I just want to highlight this takeaway that, look, Bobir Akil, when he came, he was a pretty established person already, but he was hustling so much. You can listen, like, he was texting 200 people when he came, Uzbek people, most of who did not even respond.
Yeah.
Who are probably now regretting looking at everything now, because back then you weren't that well known in the US. Yeah, so now they're probably like, biting their fingers. But look, there was no arrogance. There was no like ego saying, hey, who are they, for me to reach out to them, right? So you were humble enough to reach out to so many people who weren't even returning your messages. And now that's how you ended up being so established. Like, you were very well established in all these communities. You have so many connections. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, that hide your ego, right? Be confident and be humble enough to reach out to people and put yourself out there when you come into the new place.
Absolutely. Even if you're established in your own country, who are you here? Like, you don't know people, you haven't proven yourself in this country. So, and I was the one, I came here, these guys lived here more than myself for 10 years. And I was reaching out to them and saying, hey, let's meet. I'm a new immigrant. I came here a couple of months ago. And I understand why they didn't reply, because there's a lot of people like myself coming in, but I gave it a shot, and a few people met with me, and then I gave it another shot, asked my friend to introduce me to other people, and he was kind enough to introduce me to another people, and those people introduced me to another, and this is how it started. And very, very quickly, look, you remember me from
2017 when we met. Yeah.
Look, it was only 1 year since I came to US. I was already pretty well.
Yeah. I was
very pretty well known. Yeah. People were reaching out to me back then already from different different states in US and asking me. And then when I told them, they didn't know that I recently migrated. Just recently.
Yeah.
When you reached out to me, I didn't even have a green card. I think I didn't have it. I definitely didn't have it. So, and then when I used my connections back in Russia, when there was a Synergy Global, it just blew away, because what happened is that these guys know me from Russia, and then reached out to me. Hey, Bobir, you came here, blah blah blah. Help us out. I said no problem. And I came here, It was myself who moved here recently,
Already helping others.
helping them, my friend from Russia, and I was calling, and then he said, one of my the founder, he said, can you help me to bring very well-known people, VIPs? And I said, okay. So I reached out to Jewish community, to other communities, and etc. And then we brought the very well-known people, very VIP personas, and I also invited Uzbek people to this event, and they were shocked. They were literally shocked because this event was all over the place, Madison Square Garden. People were talking about it, and I'm like at the backstage, and I'm calling my guys and then saying, Uzbek people, hey, come, like I'm gonna give you like seats, best seats. And they came there and they saw, who's this guy? Like,
how come he's well known? Yeah.
Yeah, who's this guy? Who is this? And then I met like people from Voice of America and blah 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 blah. They were all thinking that I was here for a long time, but
Yeah.
I was recent. I moved here very, very recently.
Incredible.
I was hungry, Sardor. Honestly, I was hungry. I had no other choice. You know, we want to be. When I say we entrepreneurs, we're hungry. Even if I had to work for somebody, I would be doing the same thing. You know, I'm hungry all the time. I want to grow. I want to leave something in this world. I don't want to. I won a lottery by being here. Okay, I won a lottery by just being, like Gary Vee said, out of the millions of billions, you know,
400 billion to one.
and for me to be born. So I was born. I wanna live my life in the fullest. I am sure I will make hell of a lot of mistakes. I'm sure the road is going to be bumpy. I'm sure that, you know, I might not succeed. You know, this is not. I'm sure I will try, but I might not succeed. I may not become a billionaire or whatever. You know, but I will always give it a try.
Of course.
Always give it a try.
And that is so inspirational, incredible that, again, you know, you are able to hustle so much. And I guess another takeaway here, and the last one would be that no matter, it's not about how long you live here, it's about how you put yourself out there and how active you are. So I think this is an incredible takeaway for the new immigrants that are coming to this country. And for a lot of those who are also living for a very long time, it's not late, never late. Go out there and put yourself out there. Bobir, within 1 year of coming here, was introducing other people who are established here in this community to American culture. He was more established within 1 year than other people who are here for 10 plus years. And again, takeaway is that be active.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on to the last part, the Q&A. Again, we'd just like to remind everybody that we are stressing this interview. We're not doing a typical interview with Bobir because there are so many out there that have done that. We're stressing this about immigrant journey, about Uzbek diaspora, other diasporas. So we have one question that I like here that I'd like to bring up from Shahzoda Mirakova. Yes, and this was the one. So she's saying, do you come up with extraordinary ideas for such tech? Oh, no, sorry. I wanted to bring up the other one that was about culture shock. Yes, this one. Do you experience a culture shock in Uzbekistan? Can you say that you reached the pinnacle of American dream? If not, what is your way of reaching it?
No. Do you experience a culture shock in Uzbekistan? Do you experience a culture when I return to Uzbekistan? You mean? Yeah, of course. I was 16 when I moved out from Uzbekistan. I literally formed outside of Uzbekistan. My mindsets, my way of thinking is completely different than people in Uzbekistan. And when I returned there from Australia, first time, and I didn't fly there for 5 years, it was shocking. I was completely shocked because I realized that I'm a completely different person now. Now let's go to another question. So every time when I return, I kind of become like, ooh, it's different. It's different. I am Uzbek, but I'm already an Uzbek who was established outside of Uzbekistan. That's just how I would phrase it. And now, pinnacle of American dream. No, I haven't. I have another 30 years of my life, and I'll be probably like a working life. I'm not gonna die in 70, hopefully, but I will be able to work for another 30 years actively, probably actively. And I have my dreams. I haven't achieved them yet. I haven't even achieved the dreams that I had when I was back in 20. To be honest, I wanted to become a very, very, very successful owner of a business, something like DK. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. I moved over, and I haven't achieved it yet. That's why I am still motivated. I have my own plans for my future, and hopefully I will achieve them.
So what is your way, she's also asking, of reaching that?
What is the way of reaching it? Basically working. And there's nothing, there's no way somebody is going to achieve it for me. I can establish a good team, I can hire the best people, but if I'm not pushing everybody, if I'm not the leader in the company, then I'm not going to be able to achieve that. So it's working, and the more I work, I mean, not just a stupid work, we all can work, but we have to be working towards our dreams. And one of my dreams is, I could have realized many more projects. I just realized that if I had, I don't know, $50 million available funds in my account, because I had the great ideas, I would be able to support them. I'm not able to do that because I don't have that amount of money in my account, disposable, money that I can just spend money and create businesses. So right now my short-term goal is to create a project and to exit the project, hopefully make $50 million, $100 million. Once I have it, and I'm still young, maybe 40, 45, then I will have money to create many more other projects. So that's because there's a lot of opportunities out there. There's a lot of opportunities out there, and you either have a limited resources, and then when you have a limited resources, you have limited team. When we look at Elon Musk, some people say, oh, hey, he's in Tesla, he's in SpaceX, he's in battery, he's in that and this and Loop and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's because he has money to support the businesses, and he's able to bring very good talents and probably put partners into that business. This is how he goes.
Interesting.
But he initially made his money from PayPal. So I'm not saying you have to go and spread yourself thin. This is the wrong way. When he initially made his money from PayPal, when he became a rich guy, then he was able to go and experiment and etc.
So that money that he had, like a safety net, what did allow him to then go out? Because he's an immigrant as well, by the way. He's an immigrant who came from South. Yeah. And anyway, he was hustling like yourself, going out there, putting himself out there, doing all these things, which I think before, because we didn't get any other questions regarding the diaspora, I'm just going to ask you this that came up. Who are the immigrants that you aspire to, that you get inspired by?
I have two people who really inspire me. Elon Musk is not because it's a trendy word or because he's the owner of the Tesla. It's just like, I feel like I think the same way, very similar way. I actually have three people, very similar way, because when I hear him talking, I say, oh, this is how I think as well. This is what I would do as well. Even when he's running different businesses, I feel like, oh, I want to do that as well. It's just that I have a limited capability right now, but hopefully I will reach to that point as well. The second one is Chobani. Chobani is the guy who founded a yogurt, Turkish. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, Chobani. He's a very interesting, very, very interesting guy. I read his story. He came from Turkey, and he was he used to eat his yogurt in Turkey. When he came here, the only yogurt he saw was Greek yogurt, and the taste was different. And he said, "Okay, I will be introducing Turkish yogurt." And he made a brand, Chobani, basically means chopon from the word.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
chopon. Chopon means the guy who looks after the cows in the mountains and etc. In Uzbek language.
Wow.
And then, so he said he made it, he branded it Chobani, which is a great brand. I love it.
Yeah.
And he succeeded. He succeeded.
It's a household name now. Like everybody eats chobani at home. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a Turkish immigrant. He's a billionaire guy.
Incredible.
And the third guy, I mean, the third guy is, I just like him. It's not because he has 8 million, subscribers. Gary Vee. It just he resembles me myself a lot as well. He's an older guy than myself, but I was never a bad guy in my business, which was abused, by the way, by some people. Hold on a sec. I think.
Yeah, I'll grab water as well.
Okay. So Chobani, Gary Vee, the guy who I want to talk about is Gary Vee. He's a hustler, but he promotes being a kindness, because Steve Jobs was he was a mean guy to a lot of people. I was brought up to be kinder. My personality is a little bit different. I am more of a kinder guy. Okay, if there are two partners, I'm the good guy. I want to be a good guy. It was abused by many times. So at one point I thought, oh shit, I can't be a I can't be a good guy in the business because I'm never going to succeed because I was abused. My kindness was taken for granted and it was used against me. And I was stabbed. I mean, not like a literal stabbing, but I was betrayed. So when I came here, one of the guys who I met, he told me about Gary Vee, and he said, you got to listen to this guy. And when I started listening, he was promoting being a good business guy. And I was like, it's impossible. The business guys cannot be good. I'm a good guy, and I'm being betrayed all the time. And then when I start hearing him, I realized, oh, no, you know what? It's just that I made other mistakes. It wasn't about being a good. I was always good. It was about me enforcing my rules at one point, okay? And it's not about good or bad. And he talks about it, okay? He talks about it. He's successful, and that's why I like him. I don't listen to him every single day.
Yeah.
Maybe I listen to him like every three months, every 4 months. I just listen to his one episode because he kind of, he repeats himself all the time.
Yeah, the same thing.
Same thing, which is understandable because he constantly gets new audience, new people joining, and he has to tell them. These guys.
Not his thesis. Yeah, makes sense. Interesting. Cool. So next question we have from Anvar Imanpulov, who says, what do you think? It is impossible to find some jobs for mathematicians, and living in USA is not hard for these persons. So I guess the question is about how hard would it be for mathematicians to find a job in the US?
Well, I believe that if you're if you're good in your own field, or if you're a subject matter expert in your own field, then you can always find a job. I don't believe in that. In as long as you don't have to get the certification, if you're good, then you can get a job, man. This is a capitalistic country where people do not look for diploma. People look for knowledge. The people, when I hire, I like to look at what? I look at whether this guy is going to give me a benefit to my company, whether he's going to be a beneficial, whether he's going to be produce services or goods. This is how I look. And if you're good in math, You know, there's definitely companies who are looking for mathematicians, and if you come and say you're good, and if they test you, you're probably going to get hired. If I was going to look for someone for my kid, yeah, I will definitely, you know, hire people like yourself.
Got it. Great. I think that answers the question. Let's move on to the next one. Fakhreddin Nizam Khojayev says, do you have any advice for someone who's starting a IT consulting startup in USA?
Yeah, IT consultancy is not an easy job, to be honest. It's pretty difficult because there's a lot of components that you have to have. It's not like having a e-commerce or, you know, you could do drop shipping. When you are doing an IT consultancy, you first need to have a good business development team, sales. In other words, sales. You need to have a budget to market because clients are not going to find you randomly. You need to have a development team, and you need to be able to execute every single thing in a very good way for you to get paid, because you can make the sales, but if you fuck up a project, you're probably not going to get the second part of the payment.
Yeah.
And you get bankrupt very, very easily. It's a difficult job. You can go there, you can make money, but you need to have every single component.
Yeah, and I guess the stress here is in the US. So assuming that they have all these things, how would it be different in the US?
US is the competitive. You have to go look. If you have all of these components, go and advertise yourself. That's it. This is how you need to find the clients. Is it possible? Of course it is possible. I did it, you know, millions of other people did it. So it is.
Got it. So, all right, advertisement. And I guess this will be the last question and we can wrap it up. Or we can take one more if anybody has a very interesting question in the meantime. But Khoshid Kurbanov says, can you share your experience how your children could have benefit from life abroad?
Well, my children are benefiting. Well, they're living in the biggest economy. They don't have to go through the struggles that I went through, like getting the visas and etc. They're living, and if they use this opportunity wisely, you know, they can be successful, much more successful than myself, and I'm sure that they are going to be successful. So I kind of skipped them the hard part of going through the visas, immigration, and other stuff. They just have to. They cannot take it for granted, and I remind them all the time that I had to go through this difficulty, spend my time to get here, and I'm you know, hustling. You guys should not take it for granted. You guys are already living in this country. You won't have a visa problem, hopefully, in the future. And the only thing that you need to do is work on yourself and, you know, hustle as well. Whether you want to be doing a business or work for somebody, you just have to work hard.
Yeah. And one thing I want to add to here is that a little bit of background story on your children. I have it firsthand. Being an immigrant, my parents always put some adversity in my life just so I could appreciate. And you did that as well, because you're saying they shouldn't take it as an advantage. You remember that you made your son work, right? Tell us about that little story.
I'll tell you. So when we moved to Russia, from Russia, when we used to live in Russia, one of the places where we used to go was a Goodman. It's a steakhouse, Goodman, very famous steakhouse. Every single steak was approximately 3,000 rubles. So the best steak, 3,000 rubles back then, it was like $100. So $100 for a steak, and we go there like every week or every 2 weeks. So when we used to go there, Alan, my oldest son, he used to like go and not look at the price, just select the steak he wants. Sometimes he used to get for $150, and like, I want this. Okay, no problem. We used to buy it. I used to pay like $400, $500 just for our lunch or dinner and move on. When we came here, we went to the restaurant and he opened, and I said, now you got to check the price. Not that I didn't have money, but I said, check the price. Okay, he's like, okay, $50. I said, yeah, that's a lot of money. And he's like, oh, okay. And then when we came home, and I said, look, now you have to earn your money. You need to make money. He's like, oh, how am I gonna do it? I said, I'm gonna teach you, man. And I told him that we need to collect the bottles, just cans in New York for 5 cents, and collect as many as you can. Then we're gonna go to the place where we are going to give these bottles and get the cash. In New York, you can do it. For every single bottle, you get 5 cents. So when we collected everything, it was like big plastic bag with a lot of, I think we got like $12. And then I said, well, you need to collect it. And it took him what, 3 days or 4 days walking. And I said, you need to collect this amount of bottles, 4 times more to afford a steak that you bought like a week ago. He was like, wow. I just gave him a comparison of how much work he needs to put to eat that, goddamn steak. And so he started changing his mind. He was never looking at the prices. And then, so he started collecting the money to incentivize. I told him, look, whatever amount you're going to get, whatever amount. And if you want to buy a Sony PlayStation, you need to collect 50% of this amount. The rest, I will chip in 50%. Whether it's a $500, I'll chip in another $500. I'll match that. So, it was a difficult job for him to collect it. He was collecting money. And I said, look, now you can get more money if you spend your time more wisely. And he said, how am I going to do it? You go and, offer your cleaning service within our building. And we did this. He still has this photo. We bought him a mop and a few other stuff, and he started walking in the door, knocking, putting the leaflet saying cleaning service for $15. It was still it was better than him collecting the cans for 3 days, 4 days, and earning $12. Here, 1 hour work, $15. So the return on investment for his So he's selling his time at a higher price. So once I implemented that, his mindset changed completely. Wow. He knows the price. He can count the price. He can count and etc. Now I haven't told it, but he's been learning Python for over a year now, and now he's selling his time on freelancer, Upwork, and Fiverr. Yeah,
wow. Makes more money, huh?
Yeah, but no, he's not making more money now.
He will. Yeah,
he's a junior guy, but he's offering service at the flat rate of testing an application at the rate of $5 per testing. So he won 3 contracts. But I told him, look, it doesn't matter how much they pay you, even $1, just get it for feedback. Yeah. And recently he was like, Dad, I'm doing this work and I'm getting $5. I said, it doesn't matter, man. Get the reviews and that's it. In 1 year, you're gonna have, 200 reviews. You're gonna charge them $50 per testing. Yeah. So amazing. This is how it works. And my younger son, in New York, I also did a lesson, crash course on how to make money. And he always, when he needs money, he always says, hey, Dad, let's buy bottles, so we could sell it. So I told him, when in Costco or in Walmart, you can get a bottle of water, like a box of water for $3-4. And every single water, you can sell it for $1. So investing like $4 will give you a return on investment of $30. So wow. This is
it's another business.
I did it when I was young.
Yeah. So like dad, like son, huh?
No.
Yeah. So one, again, another key takeaway that I want to highlight here is that because people are asking, how do you make it in the new country as a newly immigrant? So I'm just going to summarize your answer to that question. Look, again, work. That's what Bobir is trying to do. And about kids, he didn't spoil his kids. They had everything. They had advantage. They didn't have to go through immigration process, through struggling with money. But Bobir made his kids go through this hard struggle in order for them to appreciate this as an immigrant. and that's going to put them in a much better position than if they were just given everything. And that's what it can seem from the side, people thinking like, oh, this person is super successful, and his kids must be enjoying the best life. Well, they are, but they are also appreciating it, and he doesn't mind that he's has the reputation, but he's putting his kids through cleaning and collecting bottles. That's just something that a regular guy wouldn't do, and that, I think to me that's incredible. So
yeah, your kids, for those who have kids, they need to appreciate it. It doesn't mean that you have to put, take them through the same route that I'm doing it. If your kid is talented, he's a musician, I'll let him play him a music. If he's a good artist, let him draw that. It's just like, it was my way of teaching them, appreciating and explaining the value of the money, because otherwise it's kind of difficult when your kid has grown in a way where he doesn't have to think about the money. He literally wasn't thinking about the money. He didn't know what was 50. He knew that $100 was $100, but he didn't know how much it took me to earn that money.
Makes sense. Great takeaway. Bobir, how do you feel? Could we take one more question, or
absolutely, man? I have no problem. Look,
great. So there's one really good question.
Every single day we can talk another 1 hour.
Awesome. Okay, so there's one really good question, I think, from Jawahir Samijanov, who's asking, does being a successful entrepreneur abroad require a great connection in that country and knowledge regarding the country? Or if you have good networking and knowledge of your business, is this enough to be a successful business person?
Or if you have a good networking and knowledge of your business, is that enough to be successful? Look, connections definitely help you. I never take connections for granted. I always use my connections. But it depends. Even if you are, we could be introverts, and then you might, if you hear this, and if you're an introvert, you might think, oh, I'm not able to do connections, so I'm not going to be successful. No, it's wrong. You can become a successful. Look, Bill Gates is introvert. Okay, he became a very good. Or Warren Buffett was an introvert. They became very successful people. So yes, connection help you, but knowing your business and your industry is much more important than your connections. If you are if you are professional, if you know your industry very well, then you can always get clients, you can always sell yourself, and you will always be able to make money.
Great.
It's just that for those people who love to make connections, some stuff are going to be easier. Let's say if I want to get access to certain group of people, if I have different connections, I will always be able to find someone who could introduce me. Without the connection, I literally have to knock the doors and ask them.
So connections are a shortcut in a way.
It's just a shortcut, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you might have a connection who will introduce you to venture capital or angel investor. Otherwise, you would not be introduced if you did not know the person. So connection is good to have. It worked well for me. But even without the connections, you can succeed.
Great answer, I think. Awesome. And the rest of the questions, I would like to apologize to those who I wasn't able to cover, because in a way we sort of covered those questions. So from Diora Mamatova, she was asking, how can I make acquaintance? I think if you go back a little bit in the video, Bobir covered how he made acquaintance with people. So you can look back there. I think we covered all the unique questions. Bobir, I would like to thank you for your time so much. This was an incredible time with you, and I think a very inspirational and resourceful interview. For those who are living abroad or are thinking to move abroad, you can always look back and listen to these stories. And feel free to send those questions for our future interviews. We're going to be having other amazing people, not only entrepreneurs, but people from different countries, from different fields. Uzbekistani people, so not only Uzbek people, but Uzbekistani people, meaning anybody who's from Uzbekistan living abroad, on the show for you guys to learn and get value from our content. So,
Awesome.
Bobir, thank you again.
Sardor, thank you very much for inviting me.
I'm sorry. One really important question we wanted to ask you as Uzbek Diaspora, and I think we can wrap up on this one if you feel good still staying. So, if Uzbek Diaspora was a business that you are starting, that you've founded, how would you promote it? How would you make sure it's scaling?
If it was a business?
Yeah, if it was, just imagine if it was a business that you started.
Well, I had this kind of idea a long time ago, and I actually had a group on Facebook. The name was not Diaspora, it was United People of Uzbekistan. So back when I started Facebook. And the goal to me would be connecting people, memberships probably in the future, and some kind of events, because yes, man, I would be interested in connecting with people from Korea, Uzbek successful people, or not even, it doesn't have to be successful people, it's just interesting people in South Korea, or someone in UK, and etc. I think the idea is a very good idea, as long as you guys are committed and you're promoting it as a one-stop destination for people from all over the world, Uzbekistani people to connect. Then at the end of the day, you can always make money. Once there's enough eyeballs and traffic, man, you can do money. You can do a lot of different stuff. You can, someone can come and promote their legal services in Uzbek diaspora, or somebody may come and say, hey, I need a lawyer, and blah, blah, blah. You can make a connection. There's a lot of things you can do. You can do an application. Was it the question, or did you ask me?
So just not so that people don't get us wrong, this is not a commercial project. With no means we're trying to make money from this or anything. This is solely to deliver value and do it. Because why I asked you this question is because you're an entrepreneur, and our goal is to just grow and make this more scalable, just to deliver more value. But I think this was a great answer too.
Yeah, by delivering the value, you will always bring people. You will always bring people. Yeah, it's good thing that you're not doing it for profit. Perhaps you might do it in the future, because this is where, if you do it for profit, maybe not like a completely fully profitable business, but then you will have enough money to actually deliver a better service.
Exactly.
So you might do events, you might do something. So sometimes, for profit is nothing bad about that. If you're making profit out of that and you are delivering a value to Uzbek diaspora, there's nothing bad about that. There's nothing bad about it. This is how business communities grow, man. This is how, there's some sort type of communities, business type of communities, where you have to pay $25,000 a year to be part of that community, because you're gonna get the best value, because they will be inviting best speakers and they will always give you a value.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say this is something that we didn't think about, but this is for now it's a non-profit delivering value. And just wanted to make that clear to everybody, that so people don't think that we're trying to monetize this. Only asked this from Bobir because he's an entrepreneur, and we wanted to get an advice on just growing this community. So, But Bobir, this was a pleasure again. Thank you so much. Thank you for staying for an extra question. We will be able to answer any questions from the audience later on. And please leave comments. Let us know how it went. This is our first event. Like I said, we're going to be having more people in the future.
Sure. Thank you, Sardor. It's always good talking to you a couple of times a day. For those who don't know, Sardor and I will work together. So, and thank you for inviting me. I fully support your initiative of bringing diaspora together. It's a good thing. It's an honorable thing. And then it's an exciting thing. If I was at your age, I would probably do the same thing.
Awesome. Good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Great day. Thanks.
All right, thanks.